Hello, everyone. Hello, Luke. I think we're all set up now. It's being recorded, so people will be able to see it later if they can join now. We actually have people from Europe and other regions, Luke, so probably the hour is kind of late for them, but time zones here. Let's get started. Tell us, who are you? What is DFlow? Please introduce to the people.
Cool. Welcome. Good morning, everybody. Buenos dias or buenas noches. My name is Luke. I am a DevRel here at DFlow. So we're going to talk today about what DFlow is, the problems DFlow solves. But first, I'm kind of curious why people are here. I think my presentation is going to be a lot better if I hear from people, like just quick things, stuff you'd like to get out of this call, stuff you'd like to learn, and yeah, anything you want to share. Tell if there's a chat in here or not. Is there a way people can type things?
They can actually.
Are people mostly from Mexico, or where are people from too? Let me know where you're from.
Para los que maybe no entendieron, les están preguntando de dónde son. Que pongan su país y por qué se están metiendo ahora a escuchar de qué es DFlow. Si lo pueden poner ahí en el chat, su país o qué les interesa escuchar ahora.
Me llamo Lucas. Soy DevRel en la empresa de DFlow. Soy de Estados Unidos, pero ahora mismo vivo en el sur de Tailandia, en una isla pequeña, se llama Koh Samui. Pero un poco de español, no mucho. Hablo español para usar en la vida, pero no puedo hablar sobre los blockchains en español. Pero si hay algunas palabras que ustedes no entienden cuando yo presenté, puedes preguntarme en español y yo puedo tratar de decirte en español. So, yeah, I can try a little bit of Spanish, but my blockchain Spanish is pretty weak. He visitado México una vez. Fuimos al DF, Teotihuacán y también Puerto Vallarta. Me encanta mucho. Comida es muy, muy rica. Me encanta mucho la comida de México. Y también la naturaleza. Es muy, muy linda allí. Pero, where is the chat? I can't see it, everybody. Is it in the workshop area?
Do you see your mic? Or your option? Yeah, it should be two ways to the right after your mic. So in the same bar, just two places to the right. You should find it there. Let me add you. Should be here.
Oh,
let me know if you got that.
Lo vi. Okay. Nice. México, Chile. Chile, también he visitado Chile. Yo pasé 5 meses en Chile, en Valpo y también en el sur, Punta Arenas. Qué linda. Argentina también. I've been to Chile, I've been to Mexico, Argentina. I was in Ushuaia y también Buenos Aires. Tacos y enchiladas, sí, me encantan mucho tacos. Cool. Yes. So the presentation is going to be in English. My Spanish is pretty limited. I can't talk about blockchain stuff. Again, it's really important. If there's stuff I'm saying that you don't understand or you're just confused, just tell me to pause and I'll explain it in English, or I'll try to explain it somewhat in Spanish. So, what is DFlow? Okay, I guess who has ever used the prediction market. If you've done either of those two things, likely you have used DFlow. You may not have known about it, but under the hood, you're probably using our infrastructure. So DFlow is low latency trading infrastructure. DFlow is la infrastructure de trading low latency. Okay, that sort of makes sense, but how about I make it much easier to understand? DFlow makes building on Solana easy as fuck. I think for a lot of people, there are obstacles to building on Solana. You may not know Rust. You may not be familiar with the way that Solana programs are done, or just the way decentralized programming works on Solana. And I think for a lot of people, that level of computer science, that level of programming is much different than, building something with React. It takes a lot more skill. And even with AI helping us today, it's not as quick and easy as it is when you're building something with React or Next.js. And there are a lot more barriers. What we have is we have a set of APIs that you can use from any language that allows you to swap tokens and also to interact with prediction markets on Kalshi. To go into a lot more detail with that. Let's start first with our spot trading API. So what we've done is we're a DEX aggregator. So we aggregate liquidity from all these DEXes on Solana, and we present it to you in a simple REST API, a simple API you can use to swap tokens. And what that means you can offer your users is the best prices possible. So if, the reason we aggregate liquidity from all these DEXes is because there's often slight price differences between maybe DEX A and DEX B. The prices might be slightly different. If someone sells a whole lot of one token, that's going to drop the price of the other token down a bit. And, or just other weird things that happen. Also, sometimes it's routing. Sometimes you might be doing some obscure token swap. Like maybe you want to swap Bonk for D-Bridge, and there may not be a Bonk D-Bridge liquidity pool. But because we're a DEX aggregator, we can find routes across multiple DEXes to let you swap that token pair. So that was our first product offering. It came out, it was really successful. People liked it because it was easy to use. They didn't I'll share when we're done with this. I'll show you some stuff I've done on Twitter, and one of them was I built a DEX swap using AI in like 20 minutes. It was like a single prompt. I just had the AI work, and our AI built the full AI, and it was working. So we launched this, and the product did really well. But then we started thinking, well, how could we make it better? How can we improve the experience for users again? And that's in last year, September, we launched JIT routing, just-in-time routing. And JIT routing does something really neat. So there's a common problem that happens in DEXs is that a user goes to the UI and the user says, okay, I want to swap Sol for Bonk or something. And first thing you do is you get a quote. You say, okay, I've got one Sol and it's going to give me, 1 million Bonk. But from the time you see the quote to the time you approve it and you try to execute the trade, time passes. Sometimes it may be 1 second, maybe it's 5 minutes. It could be some period of time. And in that time, it's very likely that the prices will adjust. Well, two things can happen if the prices change. One, if you incorrectly set slippage, like if you set slippage to 10% or something, you could end up losing a lot of money if the prices have changed not in your favor and your slippage wasn't set properly. Or if your slippage is set too tight, like 0.05% or something, the trade will just fail and you'll have to redo it over and over again. So either way, the experience isn't ideal for the users. So we came to it and we said, well, how can we just fucking fix this, right? And that's how we came back with JIT routing. And what we're doing with JIT routing is it allows us to optimize the trade at runtime to ensure that it meets set conditions. So it allows you to agree to conditions. You can say, okay, I agree that the price needs to be within this range, slippage needs to be within this range. And you're not committing to a routing, you're not committing to certain DEXs, you're committing to conditions about the trade that you find acceptable. And then when the trade executes, we find that optimal routing. So this was our first improvement. We said, okay, let's make DEX aggregation even better for the user. And all of this is accessible through our API. It's all really, really simple to use. We started in June. We had 4 apps, but we also had 4 billion in trading volume. And we had 1.8 billion paid out in app revenue. Not bad, right? I think in crypto, even having $1 of revenue is sometimes impressive. So we definitely had some impressive numbers here. This was June of last year. October of last year, we over 10x the number of apps. 10x would have been 40. We went to 50. Trading volume went from 4 billion to 18 billion. 1.8 billion paid out, 1.8 million paid out in revenue. 24 million paid out in revenue. That was October last year. We didn't fucking stop. November, 75 apps, 35 billion in trade volume, 37 million paid out in app revenue. So you can see there's been a exponential growth in users. And November is actually when I joined the team. So I had, or started to talk to the team. I started working at the beginning of this year, but November is about when I started talking to the team. Um, they didn't have a DevRel at the time, and they realized that they were growing so fast, and they needed users they needed someone to help support the users. So that's when I came on. So a question from Javis: what does JIT stand for? It's actually JIT, not JTI. It stands for just in time, just in time. So we reconfigure the routing just in time to give you the best possible price. Okay, so again, look at that growth. From June, 4 apps, to November, 75 apps. A lot of people building on our infrastructure. And as we've built it, the infrastructure has been stress tested over and over. It's really, really fast. It works well, it's fast, and it's easy to work with. We're kind of constantly optimizing for the developer experience. Super, super easy to build on our infrastructure. And also, part of building on our infrastructure is monetizing. And one of that way is we allow you to collect fees from swaps. So if you build an app that has a swap interface, you can say, okay, for every swap, I want to collect 0.001% fees, stuff like that. All that's super easy to do, either whether you're building with an AI or whether you're coding manually. But, you know, a lot of people probably would have stopped here. We had a great swap interface. We improved it. We got people really good prices. We had a lot of people building on it. We had a lot of revenue. But then we started saying, okay, well, what's the next big thing here in crypto? What is everybody talking about next? And what everybody was talking about next was prediction markets. Let me ask in the chat quickly if anybody knows what prediction markets are, or if anybody has ever used a prediction market. So you can answer in the chat. I'm kind of looking at the answers. I'll talk about what they
Before
are.
that, Luke, just to make
Yeah.
a brief pause, just to explain what you just said in Spanish to all the audience, just to make a
Nice.
brief version. So, básicamente lo que estaba diciendo es que DFlow empezó siendo un agregador en Solana. ¿Y qué es un agregador en Solana? Básicamente tienes venues como Orca, como Radium, como Meteora, pero cuando quieres hacer un swap, pues es raro que vayas a Meteora o vayas a Radium o vayas a Orca a intentar hacer el swap, ¿no? Aparte que es poco eficiente porque uno puede tener una mejor tasa de conversión que otro. Entonces vas a Orca y tal vez te daban $100 por un Solana, pero tal vez en Meteora te daban $100.5. Y lo que hacía DFlow era básicamente comprimía todo esto y te daba la mejor ruta para hacer el swap. Entonces, básicamente, routeaba tu dinero por el mejor swap posible a través de todos los venues de liquidez que hay en Solana. Y luego empezó a explicar un poco sobre cómo DFlow creció de tener 4 billones de volumen y me parece que 1 millón y algo de revenue a tener por ahí de los 30, creo, algo así, más de 30 billones de volumen y más de 20, a ver, sí, Luke, por favor. Eso, luego 18 billones de volumen y 24 millones en revenue para DFlow, hasta llegar a lo que es ahora, que son 35 billones de volumen y ya más de 37 millones de revenue. Entonces, básicamente lo que hacía DFlow era simplificar todo este tema y toda esta complejidad de la liquidez en Solana, te lo hacía sencillo y en lugar de que tuvieras que desgastarte yendo a encontrar el mejor swap para tu dinero, pues bueno, DFlow lo juntaba todo y lo hacía sencillo para que simplemente lo pudieras hacer con ellos y tuvieras el mejor swap posible. Y bueno, al final ya les preguntaba que si sabían qué era Prediction Markets y que le pusieran ahí en el chat si sabían. Let's go, Luke.
Gracias. Okay, so what is a prediction market? And it lets people bet or make predictions on real world events. Like in the US, we have this big American football game coming up in a couple of days, the Super Bowl. It's one of like the most watched TV events ever in the US. And people like to bet on it. And so what prediction markets let you do is you can make bets on real world things. But that sort of sounds like sports betting or something, just gambling. But it's more than that, because what it does is it helps The way prediction markets work is they're always binary. You're always betting, there's always a yes or no situation. So it's not like which team is going to win. It's like, will team A win? And the answer is yes or no. The yes and the no are percentages that, you know what, let me just show you them. Kalshi is what, oops, that's not what it was. Momento. What DFlow does is we tokenize Kalshi's prediction markets on Solana. But let's explain how this works first. So here we have this big Super Bowl coming up this weekend. And you'll see the Super Bowl is Seattle versus New England. But underneath that, we have these markets. And you can see Seattle's predicted to win at 69%, New England at 33%. But the way you'll notice these numbers here always add up to 100. They add up to $1 or they add up to 100%. So what we're saying here is because of this, there's a 69% chance that Seattle will win and a 32% chance that Seattle won't win. These predictions are moving targets. You'll see they're always moving. And what's really neat about this is that, in a normal betting, if you're betting with your friends or you go to a place where gambling's legal, you place your bet and then, you come back when the thing is up and whether you win or lose. But because bets are tokenized on Solana, we open up this whole new world of interesting and creative things that can happen with it. And that's because your bet is your outcome token. So an outcome token is generated. That has real value. If you put in, if you make a bet, say you bet $1, right? Or say you bet 69 cents that Seattle is going to win, you have a token that has a value of 69 cents. And that creates this whole new ecosystem of things people can create. So you could create a lending market. People have that token that's worth 69 cents. And instead of waiting for the market to resolve on Sunday, people could borrow. You could create a lending market where people could borrow against that token and do all sorts of other things in the crypto ecosystem. I'm going to let you explain that in Spanish, and we're going to go a bit deeper. ¿Puedes explicar
Yes,
en
sir.
español antes? Gracias.
Yeah, let's go for it, don't worry. Bueno, la mayoría acá yo creo que ya conocen lo que es los prediction markets, pero para los que tal vez no o no lo habían visto de esta forma, es básicamente lo que hace DFlow acá es tokenizar los prediction markets en Solana. Entonces, básicamente, en lugar de como una casa de apuestas en la que solamente meterías el bet y esperarías por el outcome, esperarías para ver qué pasa, acá tienes un token que vale en lo que está cotizando, ¿no? De momento, por así decirlo. Entonces, como tiene un 60 y algo % de probabilidad de ganar Seattle, entonces tienes un token que vale esos centavos, ¿no? Que está on-chain y que vale esos centavos y que puedes tradear con él. Entonces, bueno, es básicamente eso. DFlow es la interfaz que logra tokenizar estos precios en Solana para, bueno, ahora Luke nos platicará para qué en concreto. Let's go, Luke.
Gracias. Okay, so we tokenize Kalshi's prediction markets on Solana. And in doing that, we open up this whole new on-chain economy for those existing predictions. So how do we do this? Well, Solana users receive market access to one of the most liquid prediction market exchanges in the world. That's Kalshi. They have billions and billions of dollars in revenue. And what does Kalshi get out of that? Well, Kalshi itself is only licensed to operate in the U.S. And because that's it's a large market, but it's a limited market. So Kalshi receives access to the most active and opinionated traders in the world. We are bringing millions and millions of users to Kalshi, and then we also are creating millions of dollars of opportunity for our builders. And we'll go into a little bit about how it works, because what we're doing here is, and you can sort of guess the parallels this has for future growth. You've heard talk about RWAs, maybe real world assets and all this stuff in the blockchain economy. And that's exactly what a prediction market is. We are taking an off-chain thing and we're moving it on-chain. So we are tokenizing something that exists off-chain, and we're making that available to people on-chain. And the way it works is a user comes in. I don't know if you can see my mouse here. The user comes in, they request a transaction that they want to mint a token mint a prediction market, that's sent to these CLPs, are concurrent liquidity providers. It's sent to concurrent liquidity providers, and LP picks it up, tokenizes it, and sends it back to the person. It's an async transaction. I mean, it happens within milliseconds, but the way it works is you send the transaction, and then you have to monitor to see if it's ready, and then you get a notification when it's ready, and then you have the token to work with it. So it is async. It's an extra step when you're coding, but it still happens within milliseconds. And then the same thing, when you burn that token, it either has value or it doesn't, and then money is routed back to you. So when a prediction market resolves, like say our Super Bowl example, prediction market resolves on Sunday, some of the people's tokens are going to resolve to $1. Some of the people's tokens are going to resolve to 0. And if you're resolving to $1, you just burn it and you get that $1 back. Would it be easier to translate these into Spanish slide by slide?
Sí, sí. ¿Qué pasa acá? Como lo tokenizan, como básicamente toman la información de algo off-chain, o sea que no está pasando en la blockchain directamente, que está pasando en los servidores de Calshi, lo vuelven un token, ese token lo compras al precio que esté y te lo envían a la wallet, ¿no? Básicamente ellos registran la transacción off-chain, lo bajan a un token, ese token se queda en tu wallet al precio al que tú lo compraste y después, ya sea cuando se resuelve el mercado o cuando tú lo quieras vender, ese token se quema y se te envía el valor en dólares. Entonces, básicamente, primero se mintea el token para que esto funcione, se te envía a la wallet y cuando quieres redimirlo, o sea, quieres vender, ya sea que vayas en ganancia o en pérdida, tienes que quemar el token. Esto obviamente se hace a través de su interfaz y de proveedores de liquidez. Tú no lo ves, es algo que pasa en el backend, pero es como funciona un poco DFlow para que entiendan cómo es que están tomando esto off-chain y lo están metiendo en Solana.
Okay, vamos. And see, that's what I was saying. We've opened up all these new opportunities here for people to get really fucking creative and just think of new things. So, like I mentioned, one idea is borrowing and lending. And I think there's a huge opportunity. We haven't seen a lot of this yet, and I don't know why. I know it's a little bit trickier to build, but I think there's a real market here for somebody to build an app that creates a lot of money, and that's borrowing and lending. And I want to really drive into this because I think this is a huge market and we haven't seen building on this. Some predictions are obviously held for a very short time, like the Super Bowl. If I bet now, the game is in 48 hours. That's only 2 days. But then there are a lot of things on Kalshi that we've tokenized that resolve in a year or sometimes 2 years. Like there's things like some politician going to win. Or even something like in the U.S., there's an election in 3 years. They're saying who's gonna win the presidency in 3 years. If you're making predictions into those markets, your money is really locked up in it. Like if I make a bet about the next U.S. presidential election, which is in 3 years, well, that means that money I've put into that can't do anything at all for 3 years, and that locks it up. That's where I think there's a great opportunity for people to build borrowing and lending. Your tokens have real value. You could put them into some sort of borrowing and lending vault. It can allow me to borrow, say, SOL from that, and then I can use that SOL for their predictions, or I could use that SOL for swapping, trading, anything I want, and then slowly pay it back plus a little bit of interest. And there are a lot of really creative ideas that people can build here because these outcome tokens, these tokens that are given to people, have real value. Do you want to translate that too?
Yeah. ¿Qué pasa cuando tokenizas algo y llega a blockchain? Hay un término que, perdónenme si no es exacto, pero es composabilidad. Básicamente que puedes construir a través de una cosa en diferentes capas. Y les pongo un ejemplo, que es lo que estaba platicando Luke. Básicamente, digamos que ustedes compran el que Donald Trump se va a reelegir de alguna forma. Pero tienen que esperar 3 años para ver si eso se cumple o no. Entonces ustedes lo quieren bloquear ahora porque, no sé, está en un 5%. Entonces el trade hace sentido, Pero, ¿qué pasaría normalmente en Kalshi? Ustedes lo comprarían al 5% y si lo quieren mantener, pues no podrían hacer nada con ese dinero que hayan bloqueado en la apuesta durante los 3 años. En cambio, al estar en la blockchain y al estar tokenizado con un valor real on-chain, pueden entrar protocolos tipo lending, que para los que nunca hayan ocupado un protocolo tipo lending es, digamos que ustedes dejan su Solana, que vale $10,000, y a cambio les prestan $5,000. Esos $5,000 pagan interés, obviamente tienen que pagar algo de interés, pero ustedes pueden mantener la misma cantidad de Solana siempre y a cambio tener USDC que pueden ocupar para apostar, proveer liquidez, comprar otros tokens, ¿saben? Entonces no pierdes la cantidad de activos que estás holdeando y a cambio recibes un préstamo, por así decirlo, y pagas algo de interés. Bueno, esto se podría hacer si tienes esa apuesta, porque al final sería un token en Solana, estaría tokenizado. Entonces podrías tomar tus $1,000 a que Trump se va a reelegir de alguna forma, que vale eso, ¿no? $1,000, los pones en un protocolo de lending y a cambio te dan $500. Esos $500 tú los puedes ocupar, puedes estar haciendo otras cosas y vas pagando el interés. Obviamente después vas a tener que regresar esos $500 más interés y se te regresan tus acciones de que Trump iba a ganar. Si les quedó claro, pónganmelo ahí y si no, lo vuelvo a explicar. Pero es básicamente eso, que abre todo un mundo de oportunidades porque al final ya no es algo off-chain, sino es que tiene un valor on-chain al que se le pueden atribuir diferentes cosas o se le pueden atribuir diferentes utilidades dependiendo del protocolo.
I think one important thing too, I hadn't really mentioned, and maybe it's obvious, maybe it's not. One way that prediction markets are very different from normal, like sports betting or gambling, is that you can exit your position at any time you want. Normally, if I bet, if I go to Las Vegas and I bet that Seattle's going to win the Super Bowl, I can't. If I change my mind or if the odds change or whatever, I can't get my money back before the match resolves. But with prediction markets, because they're tokenized, you can enter and exit the market at any time. You may enter the market when Seattle might have a 69% chance of winning. And you know, you have a decision to make. You can wait for the game to happen, and if Seattle really does win, well then. But if you think, well, hey, I've already made enough money, you can actually sell your prediction early. It's gone from 69 to 89%. You've increased, 20 cents there. You can sell your prediction there before the game even starts, and your money will become liquid again. So you'll see even how things like that can contribute to a really interesting and creative on-chain economy. Why don't you translate that last one, and then we'll keep going.
Básicamente lo que dice aquí Luke es que en los casinos, cuando apuestas algo, normalmente tienes que esperar. Habrá un par de casinos que te dejen retirar antes, perdiendo algo, pero bueno, no siempre. Y acá en Prediction Market siempre puedes retirar tu dinero. Digamos que apostaste a Seattle y empezaron muy bien el juego y ya subió, bueno, lo puedes vender, o todo lo contrario. Si apostaste a Seattle y empezaron mal el juego y ya no te gustó, pues bueno, simplemente puedes ir y aceptar un poco de pérdida y venderlo, ¿no? Tal vez venderlo hasta en el mismo precio o más alto, dependiendo cuándo hayas comprado. Pero eso, que siempre puedes disponer de tu dinero en un prediction market. Go ahead, Luke.
Got it. Okay, gracias. So, how have we grown? Right now, we are looking at, you can see our growth here from December to, well, like, what is that, 14 months? Been fucking huge. Our volume has grown from zero, of course, a year ago to $15 million. We have 5,000 active traders a week. This is just our prediction market API. We have generated $230,000 in fees. And every week we are pretty much doubling. So 2x W on W is week on week growth. We've seen exponential growth, and we don't see it stopping. Like I said, I joined the team pretty recently, and I joined because there are just so many users who need support. So I'm here to support all of you. I'm here to support builders. I started my career early on the internet, long time ago, but I started my career as a computer programmer. I studied computer science in school. So I understand what it means to be an engineer. I understand the problems engineers have. And my whole job at DFlow is to make sure that as easy as possible for you guys to be successful and make money. That's it. It's to support you. And it's a fun job because it means I'm not really supporting, I mean, I support DFlow, but I really support our users much more. So I'm here for all of you. We talked in the beginning here. I want to just go back and remind you where we stood. November 2025, 75 apps, 35 billion in trading volume, 37 million paid out in app revenue. That's November. Fast forward a few months. Where are we? 400 API keys, so 400 apps, 15 million in cumulative trade, 15 million in trading volume, and 200 up and on our apps over apps. So, and the scope of those apps is pretty broad. We have professional terminals, like stuff that really just focuses on hardcore professional traders who understand math and want charts and really want to go deep. We have niche markets. We have, our prediction market API covers everything on Kalshi. But like just yesterday, I was talking to somebody who was just focusing on music markets, music and especially rap. And so he had built his whole site targeting people who care about that really small demographic. And you all could do the same. You could, I think there's real opportunity here to build prediction market tools that people care about in a certain demographic. I think one of the cool things now about how easy it is to build software is it's very easy to find a niche that you like and you care about and you're interested in and to build a product for that market. And the thing is, you don't need to build a product for like the entire world because, while that's cool and you definitely make a lot of money if you build a product for the entire world, it's also really, really hard to compete with people who have, millions and millions of dollars for advertising and millions of dollars to promote their product. But all of these big companies, they forget about these smaller niche markets. So perhaps, like I said, you love rap music, or you love reggaeton, or you love a very specific type of music. Well, you could build a whole prediction market website around that. You can incorporate RAI to allow people to make predictions, but then you can pull news and other information and other sources about music that you really like. Or maybe it's about culture. Maybe it's about culture or politics specific to your country. There are all sorts of really creative ideas here and creative ways to solve a problem you care about and to expand that to the world. And I'll give you some startup advice. I've worked at a lot of startups in my career. I've got close to 30 years of working experience, and I've worked at a lot of small companies, big companies. And the companies that I see successful over and over are the companies that start out by solving a problem close to home. An example I return to a lot is Airbnb. I think a lot of you you've heard of Airbnb. You've probably all used Airbnb. And now Airbnb is this website for renting apartments anywhere. But do you know how Airbnb started? It started because the owners, they wanted to, when a conference was happening in their city, they found that it was really hard to get a hotel. All the hotels were booked. So they created a really small website that allowed people to rent out their couches only when a conference was happening. So it wasn't all year. It was only if a conference was happening, the website would be spun up in their city and you could rent out your couch or your extra room to people who were coming to town for the conference. That was it. It was a very, very small. Owners had that problem. They had felt that pain of not being able to find a hotel room, and they created something that solved their problem. And it worked well. And then very slowly, they expanded on it, and made it more successful. And this is how projects become successful. It's not when they say, okay, I'm just going to take this whole API and copy Kalshi. I'm going to copy Polymarket, or I'm just going to copy what everybody else is doing. Teams become really successful when they step back and they say, okay, what's a problem I personally had recently? Where is an area that I really struggled? What's something that just fucked up my day? Let me build a piece of software that fixes that problem. Because chances are, if I have that problem, my friends have had that problem. Other people in my city, my country, my geography, it's very good chance they've had that problem. And when it's something you've dealt with, you intuitively know how big a problem it was. You intuitively know all the little small aspects of what caused that problem, and you fix it for yourself. You build software that fixes it for yourself, and then you expand on it. You fix it for your neighbors, your friends, your geography. And in doing this, of course, you solve a problem that's close to your heart. Also, bake in your initial group of users. If you've had this problem, well, you're your first user. If your friends have had this problem, well, there's your first 10 users. People in your city have had this problem, well, there's your first 1,000 users. And then you're growing slowly, building and solving real problems. I'll give you a moment to translate that too.
Sure. Desde el inicio, empezó comentando cómo ya tienen bastantes integraciones en DFlow y cómo van desde mercados muy nicho, como construir una app alrededor de prediction markets de música, a otras que básicamente dan más información, o a otras que están enfocados a traders ya más profesionales en prediction markets. Y luego empezó a comentar un poco sobre qué funciona y qué no funciona a la hora de construir una startup o construir una aplicación. Y es el empezar pequeño con problemas en casa, por así decirlo, con problemas muy cercanos a ti. Por ejemplo, tienes el problema o el ejemplo que puso de Airbnb, como no empezó siendo la app que todos conocemos ahora, sino que era una app porque en una ciudad no se encontraban hoteles. Todo el tiempo están saturados los hoteles. Entonces, esta app lo que hacía era que cuando había una conferencia o un evento o algo muy grande, sacaban el website y dejaban que las personas rentaran su habitación extra, o sea, la habitación extra que tenían en la casa, en el departamento, o el sillón o el sofá cama que tenían, y así fue creciendo. Entonces, platica que es muy, muy sencillo, mucho más sencillo crecer una aplicación cuando empiezas pequeño en un problema que tú tienes, que tus amigos tienen, que tu ciudad tiene, porque ahí encuentras a tus usuarios. Primero tú eres tu usuario, luego ya tienes tus primeros 10 usuarios porque tus amigos también tenían el problema, y luego la ciudad también lo tenía, entonces tienes tus primeros 1,000 usuarios y empiezas en un problema muy cercano a ti, muy in-house, muy en casa, y terminas escalándolo a lo que, por ejemplo, hoy es Airbnb. You can continue, Luke.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're almost done. Actually, we are done. So yeah, that's it. I want you to, from here, to take a moment. Here's DFlow, here's me. Take a moment and, think about, as you think about what I've said today, start thinking about problems that you've had, and start your thinking this way. Start with yourself, start with your own problems, and just start to brainstorm them. And from there, look at what of those problems could be solved with either our swap API or our prediction market API. What's something close to you that you care about that you think you could build with our software tools? And it's a different way of thinking about things. I think sometimes people come to an API, they come to a software list, and they look at the software and say, oh, I could build a DEX swap. I could copy Kalshi. I could do this. I could do that. My challenge to you is to change your way of thinking. Instead of looking at our software and say, what could you build with this software? Start with real things, real problems you have, and think to yourself, how can I solve my real problem with the tools that DFlow has? And then reach out to me. You can send me a message on Twitter, and I'll get back to you. You can reach out to me through our Discord, and I'm there to chat too. And I'm going to help you make your project successful. I want to do everything in my power to help you build this project. I'll help you debug it. When you start to have a user interface, you can send it to me. I'll give you really solid feedback on it. And I want you to realize that me, especially at DFlow, I'm here for you every step of the way. Our users who are successful are the ones who ask me a lot of questions. And it's not just questions like, what is this API? But people send me their whole UI and say, hey, what's good? What's bad? Do you like this font? Do you like these colors? Is this hard to read? Feel free to ask me whatever question you want about your project, about your software, about your idea. And I'm going to give you really solid feedback on it. Lean into courses, and I want to do whatever I can to make sure that you're very successful. From now, I'm in no hurry today. It's Saturday morning for me, so I want you guys to have as much time as you need to ask questions, talk some more about our projects. If you have ideas you have and want to brainstorm them in the chat, I'm more than happy to. And so, yeah, I will turn this over to you from here going forward.
Para ya nada cerrar con lo que dijo Luke ahora, es que DFlow al final habilita muchas opciones para construir con su API. Entonces, al final Luke está enfocado en ayudar a todos los builders que quieren construir algo con el API de DFlow y los invita a que lo hagan, que piensen un poco diferente, que no intenten seguir lo que ya todos están construyendo y que 100% si tienen una idea sobre prediction markets y el API de DFlow los podría ayudar, que bueno, le manden un mensaje que ahí está 100% para ayudar a los builders que vayan a hacer algo alrededor de esto y les da feedback y los va ayudando en todo el proceso, desde si el UX, UI, si la interfaz es bonita, si se ve bien, si el flujo de usuario está bien, básicamente todo. Si ustedes hacen alguna integración, que él está 100% para ayudarlos. Y ya al final les hizo la invitación de poner en el chat cualquier pregunta o cualquier idea que tuvieran alrededor de prediction markets para darles un poco de feedback y hablarlo un poco aquí antes de que terminemos la sesión. Así es que adelante.
Our docs are a great place to start. When you come to our docs, they're broken into 3 sections: learn, build, and trade. Learn is where you come to learn about the protocol, start from the start. And learn is written a very way that's very short, concise, easy to understand, lots of diagrams, but no code. This is really just a start about learning. Build is where you're going to see all our code recipes. You come here down to code recipes, all the code you need, you can just copy and paste, throw it right into your app. All these recipes are also contained in a GitHub repo. Link down here. You can clone this repo and just build right on top of it. This is all about how to do different trade types, prediction markets. I've got a lot of code here to understand the market life cycle, to redeem outcome tokens, to find prediction markets. We have sections here on third-party integrations. They integrate wallets. All our APIs are down here. You find all our APIs, and yeah, you can interact with them right here. What do I think about arbitrage bots? Arbitrage bots, I think there's some real interesting opportunities here. You know, with prediction markets, there are people doing arbitrage between markets. So sometimes, like say the Super Bowl might be on Polymarket, and the Super Bowl could be on Kalshi. And just like with DEXes, there's often inefficiencies that exist. So you could find those inefficiencies, those discrepancies, and arbitrage against them. That's possible. Another thing you can do with prediction markets is, you know, I mentioned earlier, you don't have to wait for them to resolve. And I think there's some interesting ideas with bots to be done here too, because like prediction markets there's an emotional component to it. Like this coming Sunday is the Super Bowl. Well, like people are going to be making predictions all throughout the Super Bowl as the game unfolds. And they're going to be moving somewhat driven by logic, but also somewhat driven by emotion. And there's some opportunities here for bots to detect when that emotional thing happens. Or maybe something happens in the game. Maybe you're watching the game. This actually would be interesting. If you built a bot that somehow tapped into an API that was paying attention to the game and was almost one step ahead of what was happening in the market. So if you knew that, okay, Seattle just got a touchdown and then the odds were moving slightly in their favor, if you were to notice that before the prediction market picked up, your bot could see that Seattle got the touchdown and your bot could go in on Seattle. And the neat thing is that because Seattle got the touchdown, maybe 1 minute later, people would start making predictions and that would start moving the needle. But if your bot knew about it right away, went in on Seattle, and then 1 minute later, as the needle moves, as the Seattle's chance goes from 69 to say 72%, your bot could just ride that small percentage amount from 69 to 72, get in, and then immediately get out and make some money. And I think this is one thing
That
that's really
actually
missing in
happens.
prediction markets.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that
right.
actually happens, Luke. So if you are seeing it, maybe try it on the Super Bowl on this Sunday. But happens a lot at the end of the matches. So basically, a touchdown at the first 3 minutes doesn't matter as much as probably a tie game in the last 2 minutes of the game. So on prediction markets, at least of what I've noticed, all games that are tied at the end game, every single action that happens on the game moves the prices by a lot. So that's actually interesting. So if you can connect a bot to watch the game to a low latency that is kind of ahead of most people, you can make it big profitable, huge profitable, because the movements on the market at the end games are huge. Not only slightest, not only at 1%. They usually a goal in football or a touchdown in American football can really change the odds in the last minutes by 10%, 20%, 30% in matter of seconds. So yep, that should be pretty interesting to go deep into.
Right, and you don't care who wins. It's not because you can get in and out so quickly. You're not betting that a certain team is going to win. You're just having a very good likelihood that the odds are going to change in your favor, and you just sort of get in before the odds change, and you get out immediately after the odds change, and without even caring who wins. And that's something that can be done. If you can automate that with a bot, you can make a lot of money quickly.
Yes, sir. Great idea, Luke. So yeah, from Casablanca, we really appreciate you having you here. Thank you for showing up and telling us a little bit more about DFlow and what your guys are building in general, and all these integrations, and putting you to the favor of the community is really appreciated here. So guys, if there's no more questions, we'll probably be ending the session now. I appreciate it, Luke. For real, thank you so much. It's been a great talk.
Yeah, thank you all very much. Muchas gracias a todos. Si algunos tienen preguntas, puedes mandarme una DM en Twitter o también podemos hablar en el Discord de DFlow. Thank you all very much. Send me a message in Twitter or on the DFlow Discord. And yeah, I really hope we get some apps out of this, and I want to make you all successful and you all make some money. Thank you very much.
I appreciate it, Luke. Have a good one. Enjoy.
Adios. Muchas gracias. Ciao.
Bye bye.